Both my daughter and her husband are very good piano players, and we used to love to listen to them play. In fact, when we lived in Michigan and they'd come to our house for a meal, being the polite people they are, they'd ask if they could help prepare or clean up, and our answer would almost always be, "What you can do for us is you can play the piano while we make dinner or clean up dinner, and that will be our treat." And so they would play while we would prepare the meal. We loved to listen to them play, and we knew that we were going to miss that when we moved away. And so as we left, a gift that they gave to us was a thumb drive with a recording of both of them playing different songs on the piano so that we can listen to them now anytime that we wish. And one of my favorite songs on that thumb drive is when my daughter is playing the song from the Broadway show Les Mis, and she starts strong, and then there's a few minor mistakes that she makes as she's playing along, and then those mistakes keep growing bigger, and and pretty soon the whole song is a struggle, and she just stops, and you hear her on the recording groan and slam the music book shut. And then the song starts over again, and she plays it just right. I love that they kept that on the recording. It makes me laugh every time. And I love that rather than just keep on struggling to the end and calling it good enough, she starts over and she has a new beginning to the song. Because that's what we're going to talk about this morning. Right? This morning really signals the first Sunday in September, the start to a new season, right? A new season of school is going to start for many of you this week. There's a new season feel at work or at church and maybe even at home. And this new season beginning is an opportunity for a new beginning. We can keep struggling through the same challenges and broken patterns of life that we've learned to live with and just call that good enough if we wish. Or we can make this moment a new beginning, a chance to do better, to be better with the help of our God. Because our God is a God of new beginnings. Jesus invites us into a new beginning with him for his purposes and for his kingdom. He invites us to shut the book on the old and to start over new. We see that in the story of Jesus healing the blind beggar at the end of Luke chapter 18. So if you have your Bibles or on your phones, open up to Luke chapter 18. Now, Luke doesn't tell us the name of this blind beggar, but the other gospel writers do. We know that his name is Bartimaeus, blind Bartimaeus. And in this story that we're about to read, Jesus is obviously the star of the story. His love and his power to heal is so completely on display. We need to be celebrating Jesus. But this morning, we're going to learn our lesson by putting ourselves in Bartimaeus's shoes for a moment and focusing on him. So we're going to start Luke chapter 18, verse 35. Let me just read that first paragraph for you to start. It says, as Jesus approached Jericho, a blind man was sitting by the roadside begging. When he heard the crowd going by, he asked what was happening. They told him, Jesus of Nazareth is passing by. Now pause here for just a moment before we read on. Right? We're going to experience the rest of the story through Bartimaeus's eyes, or more realistically through his ears, since he's blind. In order to do that, we need to start by just stopping to imagine what life was like for him as a blind man in that culture. It was a dark life, both literally and figuratively. And so this summer, I got new glasses. And for the first time, I went from readers to progressive. So I'm wearing glasses all the time now because I can't read anything close up without them. And before I got these, when I didn't have my readers, it was so frustrating when I go to the grocery store and try and read the label, and it was all just fuzzy and I couldn't read a thing. And so I just got frustrated, and now I have progressives. That is nothing compared to the frustration that Bartimaeus was feeling. The frustration of feeling totally blind, which I would guess some of you, when you take your glasses off, get a taste of. The feeling of being helpless. The fear of, I can't imagine the fear of not being able to see. You don't know who's around you, what's in front of you. So his life was frustrating and fearful. And remember, this was 2,000 years ago. There was no medical help available. There were no glasses to help. There was no possibility of surgery to correct what was wrong. There was no hope for him of ever seeing the color of the flowers or the grandeur of the mountains or even the faces of his family members and the people that he loves. He lived in a world of darkness. And there were no modern protections for him. Right? In the Old Testament book of Leviticus, the people are called to care for those who are in need, which would be specifically for people like Bartimaeus, who are blind. And yet, in that culture, most people ignored that command to care. Not unlike today, right? And so this blind Bartimaeus probably lived at home, maybe still with his parents. If his parents had passed away, he was probably living with a sibling. It was their job, their responsibility to care for him. And there was probably no chance that he was ever going to get married, have a family of his own. There was no chance for him to have a career, to provide for himself. Right? So every day was exactly the same for him. Get up, get yourself ready for the day. And then someone, his parents or one of his siblings, would lead him to the busy road going into Jericho to find the best place where the most people are passing by. And they would set him down beside the road, and he would sit there all day and beg for money, beg for donations. And at the end of the day, that sibling or that parent would come and collect him again and lead him home. And the next day, it would start again. Imagine sitting there all day, every day, never expecting anything to change. I mean, what could change? What could get better? Life can only get worse. It was tough, it was difficult, it was hard, and it can only get worse. And so blind Bartimaeus does the same thing day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, with little hope at all of ever escaping this broken way of life. And then, one day, his well-trained ears heard something different. He heard that the crowd around him was bigger. He could hear that the level of excitement around him was higher. And so he asks the people passing by, what in the world is going on? Because he can't see. And they tell him that Jesus of Nazareth is coming by. Now, he knew who Jesus was. Almost everyone knew who Jesus was. He's the man who healed broken bodies, the man who healed broken souls, the man who gave hope to the hopeless. And knowing he literally had nothing left to lose, what does he have to lose? Bartimaeus begins to shout. He begins to shout Jesus' name. He begins to shout to try and get Jesus' attention. And he does. Listen to what happens as we read on the rest of the story. Pick it up again at verse 38. Bartimaeus calls out, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." Those who led the way rebuked him, told him to be quiet. But he shouted all the more, "Son of David, have mercy on me." Jesus stopped, ordered the man to be brought to him. When he came near, Jesus asked him, "What do you want me to do for you?" "Lord, I want to see," he replied. Jesus said to him, "Receive your sight. Your faith has healed you." Immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus, praising God. When all the people saw it, they also praised God. Bartimaeus has a life-changing encounter with Jesus. And I love that moment, verse 41, right? He's standing face to face with Jesus, and Jesus asked him, "What do you want me to do for you?" What do you want me to do for you? Seems like an obvious question, doesn't it? But really, it was a test of faith. Of course he wanted to see. But did he believe that a new beginning that big was even possible for him? Could Jesus really change his future in that way? Could he change everything like that? Or could Jesus just make a few significant but minor adjustments to improve his sad life? What does he want from Jesus? What does he really believe Jesus can give him? It would have been so much safer to ask for some other things, simpler things that fit into the reality of his blindness, things that would certainly make his life easier, make his life so much better. He could have said, "Jesus, I want some kind of guaranteed income so I don't need to come and beg every day. Can you give me enough money to live on?" Or maybe he could have said, "Jesus, will you give me, I want a friend to love me and keep me company." Maybe he could be even bold and say, "What do I want? I want a wife. I want a family of my own. I want to be loved." Maybe he's really practical. He could have said, "Lord, I want a skill. I want a craft. I want something I can do in my life instead of begging so that I have a purpose and a meaning in life." All really important things that could help him get through life well. They would change his life. But they're all just adjustments to the sad life that he's living. He would still be blind. But he doesn't ask for those things because he has faith in Jesus, the faith to believe in something more, something bigger. He has the courage to ask Jesus for a whole new beginning, for a whole new life. And so Jesus asks him, "What do you want me to do for you?" And he says, "Lord, I want to see. I want to see. I want you to change everything. I believe that you can give me a whole new start to life." And Jesus looks at him and says, "You are healed. Receive your sight." And instantly he sees. And everything is brand new for him. He gets to start all over. I mean, think about it. Not only now can he see the colors of the flowers and the grandeur of the mountains, Not only can he now see the faces of the people that he loves, and just for a moment, think about how stunning that must be. After never seeing colors, after never seeing mountains, after never seeing people's faces, suddenly you see them all, right? But more than that, more than just seeing, Jesus opened up for him a whole new future, a whole new tomorrow. He can now leave behind this old life that he was trapped in. He can learn a skill. He can find a job. He can make a living for himself so he doesn't need to beg anymore. He can move into his own home. Maybe he can even fall in love and start a family of his own. Jesus doesn't just make a few minor adjustments in his life. He gives him a whole new beginning. He makes him new. And that is who Jesus still is today, for you and for me. Do you believe that? Do you have that kind of faith? Because Jesus is not just interested in making a few minor adjustments to your life and to my life. He isn't interested in just making our lives a little bit easier. No, Jesus offers us a dramatic new beginning. Because making people new is exactly what Jesus says he's all about. That's his job description. Right? So Revelation chapter 21, right at the very end of the Bible, the Apostle John in his vision gets to see Jesus on his throne as King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And in verse 5, Jesus on his throne says these words. He says, I am making all things new. I am making all things new. And he's not just talking spiritually. He's not just talking about saving souls and forgiving sins, which is vitally important, right? That's at the core of what he does. But he's also talking about the brokenness of this world today. He's also talking about moving all of us towards the new heaven and the new earth, making us new right here, right now, closer to when there is no more death or sadness or crying or pain. I am making all things new. Notice, he doesn't say, I will make all things new. Looking forward to the end of time when he comes back again. No, he says, I am making all things new. I'm doing it right now. It's happening today. He's already started. And it's happening in you and in me. Jesus is making our lives new, giving us new beginnings. C.S. Lewis, one of our favorite theologians for many of us, right? He writes a paragraph about God making us new and how radical that is. Listen to what he writes. He says, imagine yourself as a living house. God comes in to rebuild that house. At first, perhaps you can understand what he's doing. He's getting the drains just right, and he's fixing the leaks in the roof and so on. You knew those jobs needed doing, so you're not surprised. But presently, he starts knocking the house about in ways that hurt abominably and does not seem to make any sense at all. What on earth is he up to? The explanation is that he is building quite a different house from the one you thought of. Throwing out a new wing here, putting on an extra floor there, running up towers, making courtyards. You thought that you were being made into a decent little cottage, but he is building a palace, and he intends to come and live in it himself. That's the kind of new life that Jesus wants to make in you. You know, it's easy for us to think that we really only need a few minor adjustments in life. We're doing pretty well, right? Our pride tells us that we have life pretty good. So Jesus, yeah, come in and make me new. Just fix the drain, right? Fix the leaky roof. Make those minor adjustments that will just make my life easier. It's also easy for us to think that nothing will ever change. That maybe Jesus doesn't have the power to make us new again. It's so easy to be discouraged, isn't it? Right? To be discouraged globally. You know, we just feel like we're getting some relief from the pandemic. And then comes the war in Ukraine. And following the war, because of it, comes inflation and economic pain. And then we have this terribly hot summer and water worries. And now we have winter coming and energy worries. And it just feels like there's nothing we can do. There's no way to have a new beginning. And maybe you feel that way personally. Maybe you feel that way starting this new school season, life season. Maybe you feel like Bartimaeus there. You're stuck in the same old life. You're repeating the same problems and challenges and difficulties day after day, week after week, year after year. The same struggles at work and school, at home, and your family. The same broken relationships. The same difficulties in my marriage, the same disappointments and heartache, and really there's nothing that can change. So what if Jesus stood in front of you today? What if Jesus was standing right here, looked you in the eye, and at the start of this season said to you, what do you want me to do for you? What do you want me to do for you? Do you have the faith to believe that Jesus can do something new in you? And know that Jesus' work does not depend on the strength of your faith. Right? Jesus is not saying here that if you have enough faith, then I will do whatever you want me to do. And if I'm not doing what you want me to do, it's because you don't have enough faith. That's not the message here. Our faith is what brings us to Jesus. Faith brought Bartimaeus through the crowd to Jesus. Faith gave him the courage to trust Jesus, not to ask him for his sight. But it is God's grace that made him see again, not Bartimaeus' faith. And it is faith, our faith, that will bring us to Jesus. It is our faith that will lead us to trust Jesus enough, to trust that he has the power to make all things new, to trust that he loves us enough that we can answer his question honestly. It's faith that lets him work in our lives. And know that yes, Jesus may work a sudden miracle like he did for Bartimaeus. He may just give you what you ask for. Or Jesus may work over time, over a process. Or he may work in you to bring about change. I think of this with another healing story just a couple chapters earlier in Luke. In this story, Jesus meets 10 lepers. And these 10 lepers beg Jesus to heal them. Just like Just like Bartimaeus asked Jesus to heal him. And unlike Bartimaeus, Jesus doesn't say, you're healed, and they're instantly healed. Instead, he simply says to them, go show yourselves to the priest. The priest is the one who will declare them clean. They still have their leprosy. They're still sick. He hasn't healed them. He just says, go show yourself to the priest. And it says, the story goes on to say that as they went, they were cleansed. As they had the faith to walk, as they lived their lives, as they walked, they were healed. It was a process. And being made new, having this new beginning, is often a process that we live through. And that might include Jesus working through modern medicine. We ask him to heal us. We have the courage to say, I want to be healed. And if he doesn't say, be healed and work that miracle, maybe he's working the miracle through modern medicine. Or maybe he works his healing power, his new beginning power, through encouragement of a friend coming beside us. Or maybe by teaching us a new discipline in life and changing us from the inside out instead of from the outside in. Right? Jesus may answer your requests by giving you strength to endure and a new perspective of peace and trust through your journey. So back to the question. Jesus standing in front of you today. What do you want me to do for you? What do you want to be different this year? What patterns that you've been living with for years and years do you want changed? What needs to be made new in your life? And this isn't a rhetorical question. I want you to think about this. Maybe we're going to have time in person, but maybe online now you want to grab a piece of paper. We're going to hand out prayer cards and pencils for you to write one thing that you would have the faith to ask Jesus to do for you. What do you want me to do for you? Dare to write it down. Maybe it's in the area of finances. Maybe your money has been a source of pain instead of peace. And you want to say, Jesus, I want you to take care of my finances and give me peace in that area so I don't worry. And he may bless you unexpectedly with financial blessings. Or he may help you develop financial disciplines and contentment and gratitude in your life over the coming years. Or maybe you'll ask him for a better relationship with your spouse or your child, and he may instantly change them. Or he may change you and ask you to commit more time to the relationship or to listen better or to learn how to forgive. Maybe you have the faith to ask Jesus for a better job. And who knows, he may drop a new job opportunity in your email inbox in the next month. It might just show up. Or maybe he'll show you how to make your current job better because that's where you need to be. Students here, at the start of a school year, you might dare to ask Jesus to give you better grades. You want better grades. And maybe you'll find that he's given you a new ability to learn and remember this year. If he has, give thanks to him for that. Or maybe he's going to teach you how to discipline yourself, to study more. Or give you the humility to dare to ask for help when you need help learning something. Maybe you're living with a difficult coworker, or this year you're going to have a difficult student in your classroom, or students, you're going to have a difficult teacher that you just don't relate with. Or maybe you're still doing battle with a difficult neighbor. and you ask God to fix that relationship. And yes, he may change them, or he may bring peace to your heart and peace to that relationship that you thought was impossible through you being gracious and godly in your relationship with them. I don't know. Maybe you dare ask God for a new friend, and he may bring you someone new, or he may teach you how to be a better friend to the friends already in your life. I don't know. But do you have the faith to ask and to see how Jesus will work? Do you trust him to dare to give you a new beginning and to see how Jesus might answer your prayer? If you dare to write that down, don't just take it home and throw it away. Now hang it on your refrigerator or on your mirror, or put it in your Bible, or use it for a bookmark so that you see it often and you pray it often. And your eyes are open to seeing how Jesus is going to work to answer that prayer in the coming year. So if you don't have anything written down yet, then take a moment when we're done here in just a moment and talk with Jesus. Right? It's fitting that we're handing out prayer cards because this is a conversation with Jesus. Talk to him about how to best answer his question, what do you want me to do for you? And think about the faith that you have for a new beginning, for a new start, because that's the business Jesus is in. Behold, I'm making everything new. Now, what do you want me to do for you?